This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the Buffalonian division of the Castsource Podcast Network, a podcast network built by Buffalonians for Buffalonians, featuring the Wings with Blue Cheese podcast and the Buffalonian Podcast, with more shows on the way very soon. Find these shows wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or simply visit our website posted in the episode description. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Bills, Sabres, hot takes, and more. The Buffalonian Podcast. All right. Let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie, and as always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. Dom, it's Tuesday. We're coming off of a victory Monday. It's Victory Tuesday for us here, recording the Buffalonian Podcast. The Bills have a commanding victory over the Commanders.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, you like that? They showed out again. They showed a very smart, concisive game. The players did what they needed to do, and Allen even finger rolls into the end zone. He doinks it off his head, which takes another level of skill. So just general thoughts though before we roll into the depth here of the game. Like, what on surface value, what were your thoughts?
Well, I don't think my father liked the Josh Allen spin.
He didn't like the finger roll?
Well, he hates when Ryan Tannehill does it when he did against the Bills, and he's hated Ryan Tannehill ever since. So I don't.
Ryan Tannehill always throws muff screen passes though. Remember that Miami one?
Scored 3 points, but. Yeah, it was a really impressive win on the road against a team that was 2-0. Obviously, were they at, they were still 6-point favorites. They were still projected to win, but to beat a team by 30-plus points on the road in their own stadium is pretty impressive. And what's, I think, the most exciting part about it is you saw the defense really take another step. The offense looked, workmanlike game, and I think the best thing for the Bills is that they won by 34 points, and you look after the game and you say it could have been more, and there's more meat on the bone to pick. So it's like the McDermott win. You dominate, but there's also a lot of things to also kind of clean up and coming into a big week against Miami.
Right. It wasn't 70-20. Okay, it wasn't that big of a score, but you can't really complain here. The defense was dominant. McDermott's defense so far seems to be that tad more aggressive, and we're seeing a lot of players really show out this season. We're going to get to that. And, James Cook in the running back room, just to comment on that real quick, holy cow. Stuffing it down their throats. Kyle Allen's in the game. You're like, oh, they're not going to score again. They're going to just ride it out, run the ball, run the clock. Nope. March down the field and score a touchdown. And can't ask for anything more than that. But you did mention the defense there. And all highlights last week were all scoring highlights, right? They were all offensive highlights. This week, though, we're going to take a look at the defense here. So if you didn't see him on Sunday, you're going to see him right here. And we're going to start it out whenever you're ready with Micah Hyde's interception. Plays the ball beautifully, jumps the pass, his first interception since that Patriots wildcard blowout victory. 47-17, is that what that score was at the end of the game?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, where he plucked the ball straight out of the air. Mac Jones actually threw a good ball in that, but same here. First one after his injury last year. He looks to be back. He's excited. He's playing well. So hope to see more from him throughout the season. What do you think about that?
It's a good read for Hyde to read the guy in the flat open, third and short. The Bills were able to get pressure on Howell and make him not put probably as much as he would want on the throw. And Hyde read it from his safety position, came down on the play to kind of be that robber look, and saw the guy open the flat and took the pick.
Yeah, alrighty. Next highlight, another interception from another player returning from injury, Tre'Davious White. Not recently returning from injury, but he's back. Plucks it right out. If only he could have stayed in the end zone when he was touched, right? You get him on the 1-yard line, though, and Allen takes him right out of danger zone there. So Tre'Davious White plays that ball beautifully, jumps right in front. Looked a little bit like, the intelligence, the the smart play that a Trey White pre-ACL injury would have made. And, you know, we were talking last night, we were watching Monday Night Football together, and, you know, the speed necessarily isn't there anymore after the injury, but the football IQ, which you just saw in that highlight, is still pertinent and still right there. Made a great football play. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the second time that half the Bills made a nice stop in the goal line earlier, and then that in the red zone, getting the interception to take away. Again, the pass rush for the Bills kind of forced Sam Howell to not put as much juice as he wants on the ball, but Trey played it well, had inside leverage, didn't let the inside route beat him, and it's a good interception.
Alrighty, well, next highlight. If you had this on your bingo card, I have big respect for you. A little lackluster player the past couple years, number 57, AJ Epinesa, gets a pick 6. Who had that? Who thought that was going to happen this season? I mean, great blocking, great help. I mean, he gets into the end zone there. If you told me AJ Epinesa was going to have a pick 6 going into this game or the season, I would have called you absolutely insane. He's been playing very well, getting a lot of pressure as well. You know, he played that ball well, jumped right in front, picked it right out of the air, and trucked it all the way back into the end zone. I mean, to see AJ Epinesa really coming out this season and doing things like that, I mean, what do you think? It's kind of exciting to see these guys who were kind of like, well, lackluster, you know, they're not really showing out. And now they are. Like, it's exciting to see.
Yeah, it's a good look for McDermott. Obviously, you know, he sends the blitzer and Milano, but he drops at the end and Epinesa off in coverage, so he's still only sending 4, but doing it in a more unique way where it flushes Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Obviously, good coverage, and then an extremely athletic play by AJ Epinesa, and a good play by Matt Milano and Shaq Lawson to celebrate for a half second and realize to get their butts downfield to, you know, spring them for the touchdown. So
yeah. No, it's fantastic. So now we focused on general defensive highlights. There's one guy I want to highlight right now, and that is middle linebacker Terrell Bernard. We're going to start off with his first interception of the day, second of the season so far. What a play! Plucks it right out of the air. I mean, looking like a wide receiver out there. You know, normally if you don't have hands, you play on defense, but he seems to have some hands over the past couple weeks. Him and Matt Milano both, but you know, to lose Tremaine Edmonds and have that question mark of the middle linebacker position in everyone's minds coming into this season, he's been showing out so far. He's been, you know, putting people at ease. He's been, I'm not going to say he's filling that void of Tremaine necessarily, because these are 2 splash plays. I mean,
yeah, but he also had a sack, a couple of good run defenses.
Right.
He's been ever since the struggles, maybe a little bit in week 1, maybe the nerves. He played really solid game against the Raiders, and he was elite Sunday against the Commanders. And it's another play where 3rd and 19, the Bills do a good job of dropping off into coverage, and Sam Howell actually this time had a good pocket, but Bernard's able to read his eyes and take away the middle of the field. And Sam Howell, he's not a rookie, but that was kind of a rookie mistake of throwing. Should have just checked it down on 3rd and 19 for field goal. But good play for the Bills to make another play to get points off the board potentially for the Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrell Bernard, first player in NFL history to record 2+ sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery in a single game since Bears Hall of Fame linebacker Brian Urlacher in 2007. So pretty, you know, to be in that company, that's pretty good. So next, we're going to go to his fumble recovery on the game. So the interception, his play didn't stop there. Big pressure on Sam Howell, and he slides in there. The ball's punched out by Taron Johnson. He dives onto it, and look at that. He gets a fumble recovery on the day. Terrell Bernard having a day. That Kyle Brandt hype draft pick he did a couple of years ago is starting to pan out and be worth the hype. You know, he had 1 interception, as we saw. That fumble recovery, as you said, 2 sacks, 7 tackles in that game. A stellar defensive performance that we had to highlight. I mean, there was no question about it. He's been standing out the past couple weeks. He and Matt Milano both, the linebackers, but this past game, wow. I mean, what a performance.
Yeah, it's just another great play, especially it was after, you know, still a 2-possession game, 16-0, early 4th quarter. They had just gotten stopped on that, you know, 4th and 1 slant that got batted down, so to get the ball immediately back to the offense, and then for the offense to go right down the field and score in the short field to kind of put the game away, was big.
Yeah, the defense and offense played some serious complementary football. Both sides of the ball were cooking. Tyler Bass also, you know, he put a lot of points up on the board. It was a good game to watch, and the defense really is showing out, making me more confident, as we're going to talk about on Friday, betting on the Bills. in this Miami game, they put 70 points on the board, broke an NFL record of 728, I think, offensive yards, something around there.
726, I think it was second maybe, but
yeah, something like
I
that.
don't know if it was a record, but it was close.
Yeah, I mean, 70 points, that's a lot, but we shall see. We'll talk more about that on Friday, but I think my favorite new segment of the Tuesday Pods is coming up, and I go in blind every week. I love it. I think it's time. What do you think it's time for?
The Dom 5.
The Dom 5. Let's hit it.
All right. The first one. The man, the myth, legend. T-Bass will be the greatest kicker of all time in Bills history.
Yes.
I don't think he gets his flowers enough because of, Justin Tucker is a really good kicker. Daniel Carlson's a really good kicker. Harrison Butker is a really good kicker. I feel like there's a lot of good kickers in the AFC, and T-Bass usually doesn't get the respect he deserves of being a top-end kicker. I mean, he's 7 for 7 in field goals. He's made 2 from 50. Obviously, he made the big one to force overtime against the Jets. He made a couple. 54 was a breeze for him in bad conditions. So
yeah,
he's been very reliable throughout his career. And all I'm saying, we said it last week about Brandon Beane knowing how to draft. I mean,
it's showing even more.
A sixth-round draft pick on a kicker, and he hit. So
well, I remember when we drafted him, I was like, "Well, Hauschka's out the door. You don't draft a draft a kicker."
Hauschka just didn't have the leg anymore to kick 50 plus. No. But also, getting him signed in an extension means we have, I believe they signed a 4-year extension, so we have another 4 years of T-Bass after this, hopefully. So
yeah, no, I love that. I think he will be. Look at the last kicker who wore number 2, Dan Carpenter, smashing his helmet, hitting him in the face.
Well, I mean, it comes back to. It's kind of a little bit like long snapper, honestly, with the specialists. Is with kickers, you don't really realize how much a good one means to your team until you have a bad one. So
yeah,
having a very, I would even say, the type like you say, elite kicker.
Oh, I would say
who can make 50 plus field goals. Who's very consistent. Good,
yeah.
Gets the PAT for the most part, except that one performance in Chicago with the wind. He's been very good.
Yeah. I mean, he even doinked it in to send the Bills to OT in that week 1. So in clutch situations, he can get it done. What are we looking at for number 2?
Number 2. We previewed him a little bit with Joe's analysis, but Bernard Splashes.
Yep.
Big test ahead, though.
Yes.
I mean, this is a performance of back-to-back weeks of a turnover, 2 turnovers, really, as a fumble recovery, has another sack. He's making a lot of splash plays. I love Tremaine, but it didn't seem like Tremaine was making these kind of splash plays consistently. But at this point now, it's all about can he stack week on to week, and he seems to have the right mindset. And obviously, with the success the Dolphins had of scoring 70 points against the Broncos, you see Tua's passing chart. A lot of it's in breaking routes, middle of the field. Guess who's in the middle of the field in the Bills' defense? Terrell Bernard. So he's going to be tested a lot next week, and it may not be the most prettiest game, but if he can make one or two of those splash plays he's been having the last couple weeks, would be crucial for the Bills. Yeah, he and Milano, I mean, talk about splash plays from linebackers, 2 of the best examples. He being so young is also fantastic. Losing a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, who's great tackling, you're still seeing the tackling numbers come from Chicago. It's given me a little bit of peace of mind here, seeing such a great performance, not only just the splash plays, but he's consistently tackling. He's, pressuring also. He's getting behind the line of scrimmage. It's nothing but positive so far, and you're right. It is a big test. Miami's offense is literally cooking with gas, 70 points, like we said. It's gonna be a big test. It's gonna be a great game. What's number 3? Number 3, James Cook's the Commanders. James Cook. I like what you did there. Good performance. I mean, I think fantasy owners will be a little disappointed that he hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. I saw a stat where he's projected to get about 1,800 total yards and 0 touchdowns. So, not the best there. But I think we even saw with his game against the Jets that he was really explosive. Just kind of against that front was tough. But the last 2 games, getting that 100-yard game against the Raiders, nearly getting another one against a tough Commanders 98? Team. Is that where he was 98, yep. Yeah. I got him first and goal or whatever at the 3. Only he was able to get a yard, unfortunately. So couldn't get that score. Couldn't get that 100 yards. But he's been really good. And again, it's another situation where you love Devin Singletary and what he did for 4 years. Like, he was really solid. Yeah. I think that would probably be the best word to define Singletary. But it just seems with Cook, the running game has this next level explosion that they didn't really have with James Cook having the ball in his hands. I mean, we saw him make a linebacker look silly in the hole. Yeah. That pitch play at the end of the game. Right. that explosion to cut upfield. So I think having James Cook be the bell cow now has added an explosive run to the game where, Singletary was solid, but he had 4.66 speed, and it showed a lot.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Singletary, I think solid, I agree with you, is the best way. He wasn't fantastic. He wasn't horrible. Probably 50-50, right in the middle. Solid. James Cook, yeah, he's not going to necessarily score the touchdowns because we have 2 punch running backs for the end zone now, and Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. They've been doing that for the past 2 weeks, really showing what they can do. James Cook, though, I mean, the way he cuts is almost like a dance. Like it's not a hard, sharp cut. It's more of a shifty, hips twirling, like elusive cutting, not like, I guess, kind of a similar cutting style to Shady a little bit, but something he's a little more elusive.
He's a little more. He's more fluid in the hips.
Yes,
it's
he's not
quick.
sharp. He's not jagged, and you see that
Smooth.
he's throwing people off with that because you don't know what he's going to do. So we're going to see more of that. I do think he scores a touchdown at some point, whether that be receiving or rushing. But
against Miami, the hometown team.
Yeah,
so.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. So then the fourth of the Dom 5 presents McDavid. Gosh,
McDavid. Whoa.
I was so good with the delivery there. McDermott's defense wreaks havoc. Just an aggressive defense. I think it's different between being aggressive through the blitz and just being aggressive with your coverages and how you're sending for. Like, the Bills have one of the higher percentages of sacks, but they were still, I think, the lowest blitz rate in the NFL.
Yeah, because they only just do the 4-man pass rush. They're not necessarily blitzing.
Yeah. So while they do put pressure, and they sometimes will send like linebackers. It's interesting how he's kind of, as you saw, the AJ Epinesa interception. Send Matt Milano to overload the one side, but drop the DN on the other side, so you have another. You have 7 in coverage.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're probably going to eventually get burned on that by just dumping it off to the running back and one-on-one with the end in space.
Yeah, with AJ Epinesa, I mean.
With his tackling. But, again, it's a situation where they're really aggressive in the back end. I think there's a lot more freedom in the back end to make plays, to follow the quarterback's eyes. And we saw Terrell Bernard multiple times last week take away Jimmy G by following his eyes. We saw it with the interception. I guess the only concern would be if the pressure doesn't get there, if he's able to move you. A smart quarterback will be able to move you
when you
to
play
one side
and
throw you to the other. So I think that would be my concern of it. But they're very aggressive in coverage, and with the sacks and the takeaways, the defense is wreaking havoc. And obviously, I don't think they've played an elite offense. Like, I think the Commanders of Eric Bieniemy with their weapons is a pretty half of the league offense.
Yeah.
I even think with the Raiders of Josh McDaniels play calling with Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams.
Right.
They
also held Josh Jacobs to nothing.
That's also close to a top half of the league offense. Obviously, the Jets with Zach Wilson's a bad offense. So their true test, again, with Bernard lies this week. McDaniels versus McDermott, head coach versus head coach, play caller versus play caller.
Yeah, this is going to be... I have not been excited for a regular season game like this in a long time. This is... 2 teams coming off of 2 good wins. And another stat on the Bills defense. They've only allowed a touchdown in just 2 of 31 drives faced this season. 6.5%. It's second in the NFL.
Yep, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. I would say the last time I was this excited for a regular season football game was the Cincinnati Monday night game.
Yeah,
because
this is a Sunday at 1 p.m. game. It's not even a primetime game.
Nope, it's Chiefs Jets.
It's unreal. But no, the McDermott's defense, I'm very happy with. We are seeing the splash plays. We're seeing the pressure really get there. They're only rushing 4 guys. If they do blitz, they're going to be able to get pressure too if they throw some stuff in there. So I'm ready for the game plan this Sunday. I think you heard McDermott in his post-game press conference say, I think Miami just put up 70-plus points. So
we'll see. I think my only thing with the defense is I would like to see... if they're going to keep Kingsley Jonathan active.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I would like to see them put Puna Ford in instead of Jordan Phillips.
I agree with that.
I think Jordan Phillips was really bad on Sunday. Like, he was very, like, the running
compared
game,
to the rest of the line.
Like, if you looked at the film and, like, you looked at, like, the run game, like, he was getting pushed around a little bit. Yeah. And that's how they really get some big runs. I don't know. I've always been on record of not being the biggest Jordan Phillips. I get the hype guy, and having him on your roster for like the hype and that
locker room presence,
all that. I've never like even when he had like the 9-sack season in 2019, it was like these are covered sacks. Like, these aren't
since we've started the pod, I remember we've talked about Jordan Phillips and you've stayed consistent. So there's nothing there. I would like to see Poona Ford also play against the Dolphins too. I feel like little NFL script writing on that,
The fifth and final of the Dom 5 for week 3 is the offense must sharpen up. I think this was a B- game from the offense. Mm-hmm. Josh's final numbers, 218, a touchdown, an int. I mean, the int was an arm punt, but again, I just don't ever like interceptions because it was at the 18, so it's like you kind of would think that your punter would be able to back them up further than the 18 with your special teams. Mm-hmm. So just a little sloppy. I didn't think they had a great success on first down. They were really good on third down, but they had third longs, weren't really successful on first down. Didn't love that there was a lot of 2nd and 10 runs. I thought that was a little confusing. Dawson Knox first drive drops a perfect ball right up the seam for a touchdown. They lose 4 points there. Gabe drops a ball in the middle of the field that then leads to a Spencer Brown holding penalty the next play, which then leads to the interception on third down. Mm-hmm. The Kincaid tripping penalty, which I don't know what that was. Didn't love the 3rd and 12 wide receiver screen pass. The Bills just can never do a screen pass like productively at all. They get bailed out by T-Bass having the leg 54. So I think, yes, they were able to. You got to give credit to the offense because they neutralized the Washington D-line. They did. Which is really impressive because they have 4 dudes on that line.
Yeah, and they've been dominant all season. Yeah, and to silence them's big.
And they did a good job of that. I thought Allen played well because I think he did a really good job avoiding pressure. I think he did a good job not taking necessary hits.
Yep.
Again, the interception, I get it 3rd and 20, give your guy a chance. I just don't love throwing interceptions ever. I think the play calling, a little bit could be a tad bit improved a little bit maybe on 2nd down without the runs and
let's not run on 2nd and long.
Need to do a better job of finishing drives, but overall against a pretty solid Washington defense.
No, it was okay.
It was a B-, C+ kind of game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I give Josh some credit though on that first drive or second drive. I forget which one it was. When they're down in the red zone and he doesn't try and force that ball into the end zone. You know what I mean? He throws it away. Mm-hmm. It shows a little bit of that growth for me, I guess, in the, let's not force this and have them start from the 20-yard line on an interception, you know what I mean? So on a touchback. So I think we're seeing a little bit more of that better decision making as well. Yeah, the arm punt or whatever we want to call it, that was a little like, okay, we were up 16-0 at that point, so it was like, I'm not necessarily horrified by it, but at the same time, let's try to avoid that against Miami because they're not going to give us what the Commanders gave us, I think. So I think, divisional opponents play tougher anyway.
It just comes down to, Miami ranks 32nd in DVOA and special teams. That's an advantage the Bills are going to have to hit on. And the Bills are going to have to take advantage of their red zone trips, stop Miami in their red zone trips, and take care of the football.
Yeah. I mean, they're taking better care of it already.
It was good win. I mean, you beat a team by 34, and we're still talking about what they should have done better is again, I think it's a coaching dream.
Yes.
To win a game by that on the road against a solid football team, but then still be like kicking yourself like, we got more. Yeah. We got more left. We got more left to do.
I think the coaching staff, though, is thinking alike to that, looking at how Miami performed. I think it's going to be an interesting week. We're going to see a lot coming at us, and the Bills are going to be throwing a lot at them again.
Well, talking about Miami, you want to shift to there was 2 games in the AFC East again because of course there was the divisional Pats at Jets.
Yep.
And
15-10.
Yes, and the Broncos visited the Dolphins. Happy to say I went 2-0 on those game picks. And betting on the Bills. So
did I pick the Broncos?
I don't want to expose you, but if you'd like to expose yourself.
No, I'll expose myself. Here's the thing. The Dolphins and Broncos, I thought Pat Surtain might have done something, but I guess not. I guess we're going to leave Tyreek Hill open for the majority of the game. The offense of the Broncos, though, wasn't necessarily the issue here in this game. The defense was just letting Miami basically curb stomp them into the ground at that point.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I gave their defense a little too much credit, but I mean, you can't pin that one on Russell Wilson necessarily. So
no. The Denver is a lot more issues. Also, before obviously talking about that game really quickly, Devon Achane now. Achane or Achon? Achon. That's what he wants to pronounce.
He's questionable, is he not?
I don't know, but he had a big game. Mostert had a big game.
Tua
was really good. I think he went 16 for 16 in the first half. So, but again, as I said about their special teams, they gave up a kick return touchdown, and I know they were winning 63-13 when they kicked off, but
yeah,
they're gettable on special teams for sure. So
yeah, that's where we got to strike. That's
where you got to take your advantages on when you have the Bills care so much about special teams. You got to be able to beat the team. I mean, you got to be able to have win the special teams battle when you play.
That's the Bills' X factor a lot of times, and against Miami. Remember Micah Hyde on that onside kick? He recovered it and took it into the end zone to the house,
or the butt punt off Trent Sherfield. Now
the butt punt.
Bill.
Oh, the
bump block or whatever.
That was horrible. I remember just had my appendix out and I'm yelling. That was horrible. But
it just comes down to execution, and Miami played really well, and they got their job done pretty quickly. And then talking about, I guess before we talk about the snooze fest in the AFC East, I do want to say Baltimore lost. So the only undefeated team left in the AFC is the Miami Dolphins, and if the Bills beat Miami, there will be the number one team of the AFC East. I don't know if they would be the number one seed in the AFC through 4 weeks. I don't know what the tiebreak situation would be between the teams that could potentially be 3-1. But again, next week the Bills could have at least tied for record. So all that fear of
we're the
week one being like, oh my gosh, whatever. 3 weeks later, we could potentially be sitting at 3-1.
And the Dolphins were ahead of us last year at one point, right? Or were we always in front? For a little while, right? Yeah, for
a little while.
Middle half of the season, I would say.
I think they were 8-3 and we were 7-3.
Yeah, and then I think before our matchup in Week 16, the Bills took it back. But
no, the Bills were like 2 games out at that point. They were on a losing streak. But yeah, midway through the season, it was the Dolphins by tiebreaker over the Bills for the longest
So it's nothing new. This isn't a new situation. So I don't think it's anything to be worried about. We knew the Dolphins were going to be tough to play and tough to be in a division with. They're a really well-built, well-coached football team, and Tua's really shown out. So this is big.
I guess the reason why the Bills are not the number 3 team of the AFC East this week is because of the New England Patriots beating the New York Jets.
Yes.
Following the Jets now from second place all the way to the bottom of the barrel because they don't have the tiebreaker on the Patriots, and both are 1 and 2. So it's a good result for the Bills. Obviously, I feel like you guys kind of want the Jets to keep losing at this point because I feel like eventually they're going to get a quarterback to replace Zach Wilson.
What do you think they would get?
I don't know. It doesn't scare me from the perspective of, like, I still think the Bills will be able to beat them with whatever quarterback they get, but, like, I know they will eventually start getting wins when they get that quarterback. So, I mean, the Bills just want them to go 0 for whatever with Zach Wilson, and they play the Chiefs next week, so it's not getting any easier for them.
No, not at all. And the Chiefs had an impressive game against the Bears. It was, what was the final score?
41-10.
41-10. Taylor Swift was in attendance, so it was big win for Kelsey over there. But the Chiefs aren't going to give them any slack. The Jets will lose next week. Early week, betting on the Bills prediction there. Get a little sneak peek, but it's going to be. It's gonna be just the Bills Dolphins. I'm just so excited. I haven't been this excited, like you said, about a regular season game in a long time. So,
it's good to have a rivalry.
Yes, and I don't know. Like we talk, born in 2002, so the Joe Marino era, Dan Marino, not Joe Marino. Jeez, I'm all over the place. Dan Marino era of the Miami Dolphins, the rivalry with the Bills. Never experienced that. Both teams were kind of lackluster when we were young. The whole AFC East really was, except for the Patriots. You never really saw much of them. And now to have a big rivalry is fun. It's interesting. It makes those games that much more intense. Being at that, you were at the Week 16 game last year too, in the snow, in the color rush. Like that was a crazy environment to be in. It was cool. Throwing snowballs and stuff.
I think it just comes down to the fact of in our lifetime, the Bills never had a true rivalry with anyone. I mean, I guess
now we have
if you want to say the Chiefs-Bills, I'll say that's kind of like an interconference rivalry, but they never really had a true divisional rivalry because the Pats always dominated them, and even in the last 3 years, I know the Pats beat them once, and then we beat them in the playoffs, but I don't know. They just never felt like they were on par with us. The Jets are the Jets.
Yeah.
They've beaten us twice in the last 2 years, but they just, I don't know, those games have always been kind of weird. But listen, the Dolphins are a really good team. Like, the Dolphins, you can make the case that they're the best team in football, but they got to beat the 3-time defending AFC East champs before they could be truly the top dog, and they're going to come in our house, so it's a big game.
Yeah, I'm glad it's a home game and not 110 degrees in Miami, so we're switching those up this year. So it's going to be good. But I think we have some Sabres news on the
Sabres games to talk about?
Sabres games to talk about today, huh?
You're wearing the tuck.
I got the tuck with the RJ
Unfortunately,
patch on
he was in the lines today, but not playing.
Yeah.
Oliver Nadeau is going to be playing instead of Alex Tuck.
Levi's starting, though.
Levi is starting. They're playing the Bruins, which I think is weird. I'm just going to say it. I always think it's weird. I guess it's weird in hockey because you play every team twice in the regular season, so it's not like you could play a team and be like, oh, it's a preseason, we could do some stuff. But, like, they played Toronto 2 next in Toronto. It's like, why would you want to play your division rivals in the preseason? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the Bills play 3 teams now that they won't ever play unless they play them in the playoffs.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like,
that makes more sense.
Like, honestly, you should play. I don't think you should be playing teams in, like, the other conference, but, like, the Atlantic team should be just playing cross with the Metro and etc.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to play?
No, I wouldn't want to touch division rivals.
Yeah, why would you want to play the Bruins?
You're giving them a third game to see what's going on. Like, I don't know.
I guess it's preseason. Your lines. I just think that's bizarre. But
yeah,
to go over the game from the other day on Sunday, the Sabres won 4-3 in a shootout. JJ Peterka had a nice goal. Peyton Krebs had a nice goal.
Zachary.
Byron and Peterka had goals in the shootout. Zach Benson had a goal. Ryan Johnson was the best Sabre on the ice, which is a really good sign. I think it's a situation now of Ryan Johnson because he looked really good in the Prospects Challenge as well. It's a situation where we've talked all along how he's incredibly. You would define him as pro ready. Like, he's not maybe at the highest ceiling.
No, but he's ready to play. Yeah,
and it's kind of like, how long until this guy gets a spot? And heck, it might be. I mean, if he plays well enough in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more preseason games, like, I mean, he might get a chance to make the opening day roster. So I think he looked really good. Benson looked really good. I think Benson, to me, is kind of like Kulik from last year a little bit, where it just seems like he's like not NHL ready, right? But he's AHL ready.
Yeah, so he could play in Rochester,
but he can't because the junior system is stupid.
Yeah, but you're saying his ability, he can.
I think he could play against men right now. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he needs to go back to juniors. I think he could. If they said screw the CHL, AHL agreement, or whatever it is, you can play your prospects wherever. I think he would be playing in the AHL right now.
I agree
because he looked really good. It's gonna be
a good performance.
It's gonna be interesting. I think he's paired up with Skinner and Thompson on the top line. So that's a really cool, unique situation. Peterka looked really good. I thought Krebs looked really good.
Yep.
Talking about like other prospects who may not make the team, I thought Nikita Ndorov, who we talked about a lot, his skating scares me. It's kind of like what we thought Samuelson might be, where Samuelson improved his skating, so where he could be an NHLer. So it seems to me like he's definitely AHL all year and needs to get his skating up because he was a little. You know how we talked about James Cook having fluid hips. My man has stiff hips.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's got to look like the blob out there. He's looking like a brick. Mm-hmm. So
I would say Greenway looked really good, which is really important. Yeah, obviously he's gonna not gonna have to have a big year, but it's a big year for him to kind of like you had your struggles when you got traded. You turned it on a little bit the last 10 games. If you want a top 6 role and be a top 6 forward on this team or a producer, like you gotta show it. And
I think he will. I think we were talking as well. I mean, he's my big bet last year. Anytime goal scorer. Oh, and how does he score that goal? Stiff arming and one hands it into the net. Absolutely, like, come on. Like,
it was a sick goal. I'll give you credit. And then my last thing to say is that I think Kulik and Rosine were a little disappointing. I think they were a little underwhelming. I think there was a lot of hype around them in the prospect channels. I thought they were good on the power play, but I thought their 5-on-5 play was a little lacking, especially for it seemed like there's a potential for one of them to potentially make the team. Especially if Matt Savoy going down,
Yeah,
his opportunity not being, I don't know. I was left a little like,
you're left a little just
wanting a little
unsatisfied.
more.
Yeah,
But I thought Comrie looked pretty solid in that too, so good for him. And
what do you think the goalie lineup's gonna be?
I think it's going to be UPL. I think there's real potential that they keep 3 again, because I don't know if they want to just have 2 young guys and at least have Comrie as like the veteran third that could play every once in a while. So
you think it's UPL, Levi, and Comrie, not in that order necessarily?
Yeah, who else is going to be there's not like there's a fourth goalie competing with those 3. It just matters. Are you going to do Levi UPL or is it going to be? Well, I think Levi's a lock.
Yeah, I think he's the starter.
It just matters. Are you going to do? I think UPL is also pretty solidified as 2, but
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of a competition between those 2. If they want to keep 2, do they keep which one do they keep? And if they just want to keep both,
I would feel comfortable with UPL rocking the backup position, playing 30 games. You know what I mean?
I just kind of would not.
No, he's hot and hot.
Again, this is my thing about the Sabres is that their ceiling is so high where like if they come close to their ceiling, they're going to make the playoffs. But this is what I've been talking about all offseason, is that they just strictly did not do enough to increase their floor.
Okay.
Like, the floor of their team is not playoffs.
Yeah, right.
And, like, yeah, if someone can say, oh, my God, the floor of, like, whatever is not playoffs either. I mean, Colorado hit their floor last year, and they made the playoffs and were still won their division, I thought.
Right.
And lost in the first round. But, like, for the Sabres, it's like, all right, your problems are still, like, the defense may rear its ugly head. I know Ryan Johnson we talked about. Like, if he's ready to go, I mean, that's just a huge ad. So maybe that's the situation. But, like, with goaltending, it's like, what happens if Levi struggles?
Right.
What happens if you're in a cold streak of UPL? Are you going to have to put Eric Comrie in as the guy?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
he
saying.
Could be on a cold. He could start a cold streak as well.
You didn't increase your floor enough to avoid those questions not having to be asked.
Right.
Like, if you added some to those specific spots, and even maybe 4 now, Quinn being injured, like, no one would be asking, oh my God, what happens if Levi's goes off to a slow start and UPL does UPL? Like, what happens then? It's like, if you would have added a veteran goalie, you'd been like, oh, we just ride this dude for a little bit. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
They're not good if that happens. Like, if that happens, they're going to go on an 8-game losing streak and not get a single point and go 0-16 in those points for.
Yeah, and then they're gonna miss the playoffs by 1 game. Then,
so I think that sounds very pessimistic.
You're being real.
I think it's real.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, I still, like, when the season starts October 12th, like, I'm sure the Pop Before will pick them to make the playoffs. Like, I think this is the playoff team because I believe in Granato to get the best out of his players, and I believe in Levi.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in Levi, but it's not, like, I don't think about, like, man, like, kind of just didn't do a lot this offseason to improve, like, you didn't improve your team where if a couple things don't hit right, like you're putting a round peg into a
square hole. Yeah. You're just it's like the baby toys. You're putting a triangle into a square. It's just.
But.
Okay. All right. But
there were some rumors, and maybe this is some moves that they could make. I'm going to say right now they're going to make no moves, but let's start with Trevor Zegras.
Big Trev.
A French reporter said that the Ducks are offering like $3 to $4 million, which is, listen, Trevor Zegras had 65 points last year. Cousins draft 2 picks after him. I'm gonna say this right now. I kind of wanted the Bills. God, I do this every. I knew this was gonna happen. We gotta do a counter on this. Every couple, I'm like on it, every 2 to 3 pods, I just drop the Bills on the Sabres, and now we're going to talk.
Well, it's because for so long.
Now we're going to talk about the Sabres. I'm going to say Sabres during the Bills segment too.
Yeah,
but
now because they're both back.
Relevant.
Yeah.
But with the Sabres drafting Cousins, it was cool, but it was also like I was pro Zegras at the time, kind of like I was pro Josh Rosen over Josh Allen. I'm not afraid to admit it, but it seems I was wrong-ish. Like, both players have stood out and been very good. I think Zegras is a little His name is overrated from the perspective of, I think, yes, he had 65 points, but he's also, I just don't think he's quite as good as Cousins is right now, but he has insane skill, and
I think he's got potential, though.
Adding him would be a huge add.
Yeah.
My problem, and I don't believe the $3 to $4 million rumor, like, that's just a ridiculous amount of money. That's just disrespectful. Like, and you don't disrespect a dude that was on the NHL, NHL at age 21.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't kind of do that. Do I think he's overrated by that and his name? Absolutely. Like he's he's like $7 million player.
Yeah.
But
no, I listen. I'm for it. To bring him on an already young team that's been blossoming under Granato's, developmental coaching. I think would only be a plus in the long run, and they have the cap to do it. They have the money for it.
I think I would be intrigued. I don't think I would. I don't know. It's kind of like the Jason Robertson conversation we had. Would you trade Jackson for Jason Robertson? Heck, I would still do it, even if Tacoma was healthy. But I think it comes to the situation of cost and then extension. Like, how much would the extension be? What is the cost? And I mean, we talked about this a lot. Like, eventually, you have all these prospects, like these really decent prospects. Eventually, you have to turn them into something elite. Like, you have good prospects, you have to turn them into an elite package somehow. So, Zegras would be a really good return. It would just be like, how much money would they have to pay him, and then what would they have to give up?
That's the problem, because, you've got your core pieces to the team right now who are solid and are developing all these. You have the best prospect pool in the NHL, one of the best prospect pools in the NHL. You'd have to give up probably something for them, and it's whether or not it's something they're willing to part ways with. That's going to be the question.
Sure.
What would you be willing to part ways with if you had to pick something for Zegras? Because he does bring a lot of potential. He's got a high ceiling he brings to this team,
Yeah, for sure. I would say I would be out on trading Ryan Johnson, not because I think he's one of their top prospects, but he's their best defensive prospect, and I think he's NHL ready now, and I don't want to trade someone who would potentially be able to make my lineup and be good.
Yeah.
So I think I would be on him. I think Benson would be off. After that, it's kind of free-ish game. Like, I don't know. Hypothetically, I would not want to trade Kulik or Savoy, and maybe Rosine, but if I have to trade him, I would for Zegras. But then at that point, you're probably going to trade Middlestat to kind of trade some money off your books, and for a roster player that youngish that kind of had a breakout season. At that point, again, have I been the hugest Casey Middlestat fan? No, I did defend him a lot in the second half of the year, and at that point, how good are you really making your team is kind of unknown, because I think Zegras has potential, but Middlestat had a good year last year, and I don't know if probably to trade another first round pick. Like, at that point, like, roster player, pretty decent prospect, first round pick. I'm not saying that's a lot. That's a lot for me to give up, because I think I just don't know what Zegras would want in a contract, and I just think all those factors together kind of want me to avoid this situation. But yeah, that would probably be the precedent of the deal of roster player, a prospect, first round pick. And for me, like, I would, as the Sabres who are trying to make the playoffs, want to kind of avoid trading people on my like, I would maybe do a prospect trade.
Yeah, because you don't want to trade away your.
But I don't want to trade
guys.
Like. Yeah. Yes, I'm upgrading. Zegras is an upgrade over Middlestat, but
right. But Middlestat was kind of showing out at the end of last season. You don't want to get rid of him.
Great, yeah, he was one of your better forwards. So
right.
At that point, it's like,
why would you?
At that point, yes, you upgraded, but like Casey Middlestat at whatever cap hit, I think he's under $3 million to Trevor Zegras, who might make $7.
Yeah,
I think Middlestat at 3 is more valuable than Zegras at 7. To
absolutely.
Be honest,
and Middlestat,
and then you would keep Rosine and have your first round pick for maybe another trade for another thing. So
yeah, and Middlestat played first line last year when Tage was injured.
True. And you have all these forwards coming up.
Right.
So it's like why would you add?
Yeah.
If I was doing that, maybe if you're like, oh, it's a top forward D-man, I'd be like, okay, like I could. Yeah. I don't know who that would be, but all right. So the second person. I'm out on Zegras. I'm out on Zegras just because I don't quite see the organizational fit.
No.
I think
it would
maybe
be different if Middlestat was still a bottom tier producer,
if I was if I was the Sabres from a year ago, I would do it.
Yeah.
Like a year ago if I was the Sabres a year ago, I would do it.
Yeah, because do you remember how much we were talking about how little Casey Middlestat was producing for the team?
Well, sure. I'm not even Middlestat, but Cousins hasn't quite broken.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You haven't had those players, but yeah, this next one you're about to talk about, smoke just going so far up people's it's ridiculous.
Patrick Kane, rumored to potentially come, had 12 points in 19 games for the Rangers, had won 3 Stanley Cups, did recently have hip surgery, so he's out for a couple of months. And listen, man, we saw him in Buffalo. My man is washed with a capital W.
Yes.
And an couple exclamation points after.
The only reason this is even a relevant conversation is because he's from the Buffalo area. If he had no ties to this city, this wouldn't even be a conversation. It really wouldn't.
I mean, the pros
really would not.
The pro of him coming is championship experience.
Veteran presence.
No. Whoa, wait.
Okay.
Championship experience and the amount of merchandise and money the Sabres would be able to make off that.
With Kane jerseys. Yeah.
All like also, I mean, you had to think this too, like the media too, getting in on all that. Like that would make. I know Buffalo has a lot of primetime. I don't know. I want to say primetime games. So that's kind of weird. NHL, but like nationally televised games.
Yeah.
Like that would make them talked about a lot more because it's Patrick Kane again talking about Trevor Zegras name value. Like the name value in Ken Turner. The problem is the dude is a jack. You know what? Like dude's not a good dude. So
no.
the veteran presence
isn't there.
That's really negative to be completely honest.
No, it's like a locker room cancer. Dude, you're gonna end up with a old version of Jack Eichel. That's what you're gonna end up with.
Dude is washed.
Yes.
Dude does not play defense, and a team that is very young and didn't do great. I mean, they don't need a lot more offense. They need a little bit more guys that play defense. Mm-hmm. Dude doesn't play defense, and dude also hip surgery. So if you thought he was washed and moved bad now, my man just had hip surgery. You think he's gonna? I mean, maybe he improves, but like, there's a good chance that that's it.
No. I'm so far against this. It's not even funny. This is the most ridiculous thing. Literally, like I said, the only reason this is even a relevant conversation is because he's from the Buffalo area. You say championship experience. Technically, Alex Tuch's had championship experience, too. Way back in the beginning of his career.
He never won a championship, though.
Didn't win it, but he was there.
I mean, he went to the Stanley Cup final.
Right?
He's had playoff experience.
He was on top of the mountain. He didn't climb back down. That's all
I'm just saying if...
He did the walk of shame back down the mountain.
If Patrick Kane is interested in coming here, the Sabres will sign him, though. I'm just going to say it. Like, if Patrick Kane wants to come here, he will be a Sabre.
Do you think, though, it's going to be a situation where he's like, I need to be on the first line or anything like that? Like, I mean, if that starts happening,
I don't know, but I would assume that there's some stipulations, I guess. Like, you can't scratch. I don't know. I don't know.
But I feel like we're going to be taken away from the young guys who are actually showing out if we're signing this old mother... No, I'm not even going to go there. I'm stopping. This is firing me up.
This is what gets more like mad about than the Jets-Bills game.
Yes. No, I am. Because this is so... This is like saying... Okay. I'm going to try and put this in perspective. Okay? Let's just say... New England career, right? Tom Brady ends it. Okay? The show, technically, right? A lot about him. Okay? Like, he likes things his way. The Bills, we had Josh Allen in his last year in New England, right? I'm just trying to think back now.
Yes, 2019.
2019.
Before his
we have Josh Allen, right? We have young players who are starting to look up. No, we signed Tom Brady. That's the equivalent of what's going to happen because you're going to just send Josh Allen down.
Honestly, it's not even a good comparison because it's worse. Because Tom Brady at least was Tom Brady was still a Pro Bowl,
right? Yeah,
like he was still a good quarterback.
It's like picking up.
I don't know.
There's no comparison. Really.
It's just I don't know. It's like if Drew Brees left the Saints after his final year. Drew Brees was washed.
And came to the Bills.
But Drew Brees is also a good locker room presence. So it's like.
Well, yeah, you're dealing.
It's just double negative.
Yeah, you're dealing with an old Jack Eichel that you're basically going to just re-sign, which is I'm very, 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 very against it, as you can tell. If you can't tell,
both of us are. But so transitioning from the Sabres. We already talked about the Bills. I just want to do a brief. We didn't do the rundown.
For the Bisons at all.
Maybe I think
this season,
next season or with
the Bandits.
I don't know when it's gonna. I don't know when. I forget when the seasons start or whatever. But
technically, season
this season
of the podcast,
or coming up, I think we may get back into that. It was obviously very fun. We just didn't have the time to kind of like
transitioning how we record. It was
just hard. But now with the setup, I think we'll probably get more back into that. And obviously the Would You Rather, we actually have a Would You Rather coming up actually, but the Past Your Prime Hall of Fame, we'll eventually get back into that stuff. We just again with this kind of new setup, just kind of tinkering with things and seeing how we're doing. But
playing the field.
We are gonna have the rundown and we have a Would You Rather coming up. So here we go. Rundown real quick with the Bisons. Good seasons for the Bisons. Yeah. Season's over. They went 76-72, so third straight season going over 500. Fortunately, they did not make the playoffs. They went 42-31 in the second half of the year. A massive improvement on a really
compared to the first half.
Well, the first half of the year they were really bad,
yeah.
Like horrendously bad. They just couldn't field, they couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch. But in the second half, they had a lot of very good professional at bats.
Mm-hmm.
I got called. They went 34 and 41 in the first half.
Yeah,
second
it was
half,
not good.
if you won your division, the second half you made the playoffs. Unfortunately, they finished 5 games behind Durham, and obviously they did not win their division in the first half, so they end up not making the playoffs. But
Yeah.
a productive season. Spencer Horwitz was named MVP. Nathan Lucas batted like 370. Ernie Clement batted like 350.
There's some sluggers on that team.
Yeah,
Big time.
Rafael
Yeah.
Antigo batted over 300. Dave Snyder, when he was here, was really good. Ricky Tiedemann, the top prospect, had his debut in the last series. So
Yeah.
a lot of really good talent. Again, it was fun to watch them in the second half because that lineup was deep, and Addison Barger, like, they had a lot of good guys. They won their final game of the year 11-6. So they split their final series in Buffalo, last series of the year, to Norfolk, who actually won the division in the first half. So Norfolk and Durham are going to play each other. So
Yeah, in the playoffs.
yeah,
So,
competing against the best. Obviously, Jackson Holiday, the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, was there. He was very cool, very good. He also looks like he's 14, so made me look
yeah,
very
he does
old.
look like a child. But yeah, I mean, second half of the season was very promising for the Bisons. The Sluggers slugged. I mean, it was fun to watch these games. Dom and I both have working ties with the Bisons in different aspects of the game, but I mean, it's just seeing them improve from the first half of the season to the second half. I mean, you can't really complain. I mean, talk about a production jump. That's exactly what you want to see. And I wasn't expecting it at the end of the first half of the season. I was not expecting them to even be remotely close, 5 games out from top of their division. So, props to them. I think next season is going to be great. We'll, like we said, get the rundown really moving. Cooking. Yeah, like James Cook. We'll get that back going now that we're in the new setup and everything like that. So looking forward to the next Bison season. It's crazy. It's going to come quicker than we can imagine. So and the Bandits too, we're going to get that going again because they won the NLL Cup last season and they're looking to run it back. So we're gonna see what happens there too.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for a Would You Rather. We haven't done one of these in a little while, huh?
Haven't done a Would You Rather in a little while, obviously, since the new setup, but we do have an intriguing real life. Not that all of them aren't real life examples, but this one truly did happen.
This happened. This is nonfiction.
Talking about a little fantasy football, so we wanted to get a little fantasy football on the show, and this is kind of our unique way of doing it. Would you rather? So the trade is this: Jahmyr Gibbs and DJ Moore for Stephon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were the guy having Stephon Diggs, would you accept the trade, or would you decline the trade?
Okay, well, I'm the guy who was declining or
it's more of a fan question. We could give a.
We'll give our analysis.
I'll give the details. It was more just a fan question to answer, and then we were going to talk about our experience of it. So, in our Punishment Fantasy League, I traded Jahmyr Gibbs and DJ Moore to my partner over here to the left. Can you shoot the camera over here to producer?
Yeah. Because I had
Diggs.
Saquon Barkley out now, and my entire team was injured, so I had to basically purge my entire bench. So we're 0-3 rocking on this season right now, not doing good. So I had a good wide receiver room, and I needed a running back. I needed more running backs, I should say. So the trade was proposed, and things got wild there for a minute, but the trade ended up going through.
All I will say from my point of view is I'm very pleased with the trade. Obviously, I won this week, going to 2-1.
Diggs got you 19 points.
I am playing. I'm actually playing
Gibbs
Joe.
did not pan out for me. So
9 points. Yeah, I'm actually playing Joe this week, and the spread is 138-108. So I'm a 30-point favorite.
Yeah. Well, DJ Moore actually did all right. And
he had a garbage time touchdown. So.
So that helped. And but Gibbs did not pan out at all for me. So I'm hoping for
having the big four of my team now, having Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Stephon Diggs. I also had Kyron Williams. So pretty solid squad. And I don't know, it's a situation where I was able, I have a struggle with tight end. I had an offer for another spot, couldn't get Travis Kelce from another player who was the producer. And then he didn't want to trade me. I didn't want Sam Laporta, and of course he went off, and now the producer won't even trade me Sam Laporta. So that's definitely tough. So it got me to Joe, and listen, I was able to pressure Joe into doing it, using all my persuasion. Really happy I was able to do it Tuesday night before the waiver wire because Joe had the number 1 waiver claim and was able to pick up Jerome Ford, so I was able to get him to agree to that trade before he picked up Jerome Ford. So
yeah, no,
and my last point about it is that
I'm absolutely furious. By the way, no, that I'm like, like I get it. It's fantasy football. It's just like, I don't know. It's whatever. I'm 0-3. I'm going to lose the league. I already know it. I'm not doing it next year. I'm out. If I lose again this year, I'm out. It's over. But
Come on,
no. If I lose again this year, I'm out. It's done. But no.
I will say this.
I would think a co-host of a podcast might help someone out and not try and fleece them or anything like that. But I guess not. So the trust is gone completely. So
yeah, he won't be answering my phone calls for a trade. I will say this
or
though.
phone calls in general ever.
I will say this though. Playing in leagues with Bills fans, understand that I'll probably never have Josh Allen on my team. I never was going to draft Stephon Diggs, most likely, unless he obviously fell to me if I had like a late pick. I never was going to be able to draft James Cook. I don't want to overdraft him. Never was going to really have Dalton Cade. It feels damn nice being able to root for Stephon Diggs in fantasy football.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have Kincaid. He just didn't do anything last week, unfortunately.
I believe in your team.
No, I don't believe in my team. I'm 0-3. I'm not projected barely over 110 points.
But you don't have Saquon, who's a 20-point per game scorer. And
but he's not healthy yet.
Joe Burrow's not healthy. Yes, but okay.
Joe Burrow got 8 points last night.
Even if Joe Burrow and Saquon were healthy, you're probably most likely not going to beat my team. But like, you're in a tough stretch, but like your players being injured now is not bad because when you play people that are like bottom of the barrel, your team's gonna be healthy. So then at least you'll have a healthy squad against like the 8th or 9th best team, and you could get out of the basement. And you're also tied for last. So all you got to do, dude. As my brother,
I'm not sending my brother. By the way, like I can't do that. I feel so guilty if I do that.
You have to.
I can't.
It's too. Listen, it happens to the best of them.
But yeah, if I lose again, I'm out. I can't do this another year. So just be prepared, okay?
You
might have to find your 10th man.
You know what's going to happen? You're going to do it, and then you're just going to, maybe just don't trade with me again.
No, I'm never accept a trade from you again, no matter if it's just a fun league. Never. If we ever do a Buffalonian like big league and like get an invitational league and have people like do it, if Dom ever approaches you with a trade, here's my disclaimer.
My favorite trade of all time. And I don't want to make this too long and make this a large story, so I'll make it quick. My favorite trade of all time was my dad had Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott was suspended 6 games, and I was able to trade Ezekiel Elliott for C.J. Anderson because C.J. Anderson was playing really well, and I had a 4-head monster of Le'Veon Bell for the playoffs. I had a 4-head monster of Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, and Todd Gurley. Back when Todd Gurley was him. I drafted Bell, Gurley for my first 2, drafted CJ in the 4th, flipped him for Zeke Elliott, and drafted Kareem Hunt rookie year late. And I also had Travis Kelce because he was back when he was with Alex Smith and was a 5th-round tight end.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way. I won the league that year.
Well, here's the thing. I was telling producer Michael this before. I literally, in every other league, I'm positive. I'm 3-0 or 2-1. It is the punishment league that I'm just cursed. I can never win in it. I'm losing my mind here. Like I'm literally 3-0 and 2-1 in every other league I'm in. 3-0 in the money league, by the way, $60 buy-in. So winner take all.
I'll make you feel better. Dalton Kincaid matchup this week. 29th against tight ends.
Okay, that does make me feel a little better. You could have a big game, I guess, but I don't know. Dawson Knox is probably going to get the brunt of it. He seems to be the primary.
Also got screwed from the fact of the team you were playing scored a combined 46 points from their kicker and defense because they had the Bills defense and Tyler Bass. That never happens.
No.
Like that's
no. It would have been a closer game actually. Take that away.
Yeah.
Normal defensive performance.
You just gotta get once you get healthy.
I need Saquon Barkley back. I had Aaron Rodgers as my backup.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Achilles in the first game.
Rashard White had a tough matchup. You're gonna have but you're gonna have Barkley.
I just need to not come in last. Like that's it. Barkley, that's all I need. Please,
this is what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying. You have once Barkley comes back, you're gonna have Barkley, Rashard White, Jahmyr Gibbs. You have Jerome Ford as your 4th. If you honestly feel like you need help somewhere, you could probably trade Jerome Ford to like a certain player in our league who lost Nick Chubb, and they'll probably give you they have a lot of wide receivers.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Look at the wide receivers on his team after this.
Yeah.
So
All right.
free fantasy
You
advice.
know what? The Buffalonian Invitational will be a thing. I do want to make that happen because
And Joe will not be leaving the punishment league.
I will or will not be. We have to see what the result
Even
is.
we're
waiting till the end for that.
Even
one.
how much he wants to try, you will never be able to leave.
No, I won't actually. I'm like locked in. I feel like I'm going to be pressured like I was in that damn trade. But anyway, this is going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian podcast. I'm Joe Callie. As always, I'm joined by Dom Loss. Big thanks to Michael Loss behind the equipment, producing. Appreciate you and everything you do. And Dom, we'll see you Friday, by the way, for betting on the Bills. Completely forgot to plug that. But Dom, how do you always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.